Hi again, I'm Matt, and we're back with Just in Time, the rapid fire roundup of current events in supply chain and beyond. Today we got Will. How you doing, Will?
Poppin', Matt.
Not much. And Dan, how you doing?
Doing great.
Cool. All right, let's get right to it. From Supply Chain Dive, manufacturers cite worker shortages as one of the biggest threats to their business, and they're raising wages accordingly. Question: surely brands and buyers will be absorbing some of that cost, but how can they turn this into an opportunity, if at all? Will, I'll start with you.
Yeah, they're going to have to. We don't think that this is going to subside in the next 6 months. We know that in certain cases with states that have ended the federal benefits, they haven't seen much change from a worker participation rate, and that everyone's still struggling to get in people to work, and it's an issue. So in that sense, there's a couple of things suppliers are doing today in order to decide and make their business more scalable, profitable. The first thing they're doing is that they're looking at their current customers and they're saying, all right, who are we supporting? Where are we getting our margins on? Can we run them? And they're keeping those customers. For the customers that are borderline not profitable, or they're paying, or they can deal without, some of them are getting offloaded, and they're getting offloaded to either someone else, or they're getting offloaded and they don't have somebody to turn to. So it's really important for brands to think, how can I partner with my suppliers, whether that be issuing forecasts that are longer out, giving certain guarantees, coming up with products that could be more automated, and overall just being a good partner right now, knowing some of the leverage is on the supplier side. And then the second thing that's happening is everyone's having raw material issues. We know that raw materials coming from China is an issue because of freight. We know that extended lead times are coming into play when it comes to hurricanes and storms and ports closing, et cetera. And so in order to combat that, this is a time where brands are being forced to issue orders and lead times and inventory levels where they would be held for 3 to 6 months, as opposed to doing something for a month or two. And so overall, you can take a look strategically at your suppliers and saying who's getting ahead of this versus who's consistently reacting.
Along those same lines, Transport Topics delved into the red hot container market, where they cited some lanes have seen as much as a 500% cost increase year over year. How can brands and production managers become more agile in this environment? Dan, I'll turn this to you.
Yeah, I mean, we're in holiday mode right now, so you're just at mercy of at this point, and we've talked about it at just what the market is right now. I mean, just go out to if you're lucky enough to look at any port, you'll see that there are just containers, ships just lined up. There's just really nothing that you can even do to really expedite the process, or if you're expediting, you're paying for it. So it's now planning for, I would say, 2022. You short term, you can't plan for it, but there's a lot of things that could be benefit, like hopefully Delta's turning over so that way people can get back, workers can get back in. I mean, Will was just alluding to on the wages side, but we also have to ensure that our mobility is there as well. Like FedEx I think I read yesterday about FedEx, one of their locations, they had to start shipping somewhere else because they didn't have enough workers coming in. So they're still being seen on the domestic side as well. But to Will's point earlier, it's all about forecasting and getting ahead of it. If you have the ability to warehouse items, go ahead and do that. Make sure your forecasts are buttoned up, or just-in-time model could still work, but you just got to get ahead of the curve. I mean, the one thing as well, if you're going to manufacture in China or Taiwan, like Chinese New Year is not that far away. I mean, we're Q4 calendar year, because I don't know everybody's business cycle. I mean, that starts in a week. And then Chinese New Year's is February 1st, but they start leaving a little bit before then. So we're not that far off. And then you have to deal with the containers side. So I think come Q2 2022, it should normalize. Rates should decrease on both the ocean front and the air side. But in this period of now and through Chinese New Year, if you're importing from that country, there's really not much you can do besides, if you know that your goods are going to be available in this window, just start having those conversations now. You can't really lock in all your rates, but you can lock in a container at least, which may be of more importance to you than going out of inventory.
Yeah, I think there's, in addition to that, Dan, there's like two things right now that we're seeing brands either do or not do, and they should continue doing it or start doing it. One of that is freight forwarders have issues with labor as well, even though the freight teams are probably doing as well as they ever have in terms of money. They're also scrambling in terms of supporting all their customers. So this is the time where you can't assume that everything is getting done. And if you're not hearing from somebody that things are working, this is the time to make sure from your process perspective, I need confirmation that this has been booked. I need confirmation that this plane, etc., my goods are going to be on there. I need physical proof because there will be things that slip through the crack. The second thing is you need to have a really good understanding of how much goods are critical in terms of getting them in from a certain window. And if you have to air freight them, be prepared and figure out what is the minimum amount you have to do, versus it doesn't make sense to air freight everything if your window for sales is 2 months and you can get 3 months, 4 months of it done on the backside in ocean. So looking at it in those two manners will definitely save you some money. But you also need it to make sure your goods are actually moving. Because right now we've seen plenty of instances with brands. They send something, hey, I'm setting up a booking. They wait a week. Hey, did this go out? No, what's going on? So that's something that you have to follow up with and be diligent about.
Yeah, and to add to that, some freight forwarders, especially now, aren't taking on new customers as well. So, which is not what you want to hear, but you really can't, or if you have an existing partner, it's hard to shop right at this time because they may not be taking you on. I mean, there are plenty of resources out there that can help you get a freight forwarder, but just having your packing list ready as soon as possible, just push the supplier for that, making sure your commercial invoice is ready, those two documents, or if it's your first time setting up that bond for the import side, just there's some housekeeping work you can do on yourself just to ensure that you're buttoning up. And that's what's important. You don't want to be the bottleneck if you don't have to be, when you know that there's significant delays throughout the supply chain already.
All right. And with that, I'd like to thank Dan and Will for their expertise once again, and you in the audience for watching. Be sure to share this with your colleagues. And if you'd like to learn more about Anvyl, please visit us at anvyl.com. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.
Yeah.